All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me once again with this Beefcast production, game number 2, Best of 5 series here at Assembly Summer 2012. This TVT matchup. Let's get right into it here on Ohana in the bottom right-hand corner of this map. Taking game number 1 in a beautiful fashion. Going to be content to macro up and then just absolutely punish him when you know he's stronger than his opponent. He is an evil genius, most certainly. He is DeMuslim. And dropping the first game there, certainly unexpected by me, just absolutely dominating everything that he walks into lately, other than that last game, playing for Team Liquid. The Korean Terran, he is Taeja. So, last game on Daybreak, that was a big shocker for me. I love DeMuslim, don't get me wrong. Ben is a fantastic player. He's a cool personality, but Taeja has just been dominating everything recently. And with both those players not really doing any kind of shenanigans, nothing to really get caught by, that really just kind of came down to macro. I just don't understand how DeMuslim had more units. I guess those barracks might have just been churning a little bit faster for DeMuslim, maybe putting a little bit of British ingenuity into it, but Taeja just getting caught by surprise there with a huge number of Marines for DeMuslim right before that siege tech did in fact finish, and taking game number 1 in a spectacular fashion. Now, there's already a big deviation here back at home for Taeja, going to be going for an early gas. That was a 14 gas there from Taeja, maybe even a 13 gas after the barracks. So this is going to be a very interesting play. We'll see how he does, in fact, use that gas as it comes into it a little bit later. But with that SCV going to be making its way out onto the map, and his opponent going for CC first, some kind of early gas play might leave DeMuslim in a little bit vulnerable of position here. Tech Lab probably going to be going down here on the barracks very soon. This could be something like a Reaper. This could, or, well, okay, no Tech Lab right away. There was enough gas for the Tech Lab, but we'll see how this does in fact play into Taeja's build. Barracks going to be going down finally back at home for DeMuslim as he got the minerals for that. SCV going to be making its way in, seeing the CC first and saying, hey, that's a vulnerable SCV. I want to delay you. I'm going to try to put a little bit of pressure. SCV made its way into the base over here for Moon, and this positioning right here probably wanted to try to block the gas from being seen. Let's take a look and see what, in fact, DeMuslim saw, and DeMuslim saw nothing. So Demo doesn't know exactly what is going on. A factory coming down. So with that second refinery going to be coming down as well, this is going to most likely be Cloaked Banshees. There could be something else, but right now it's looking like Cloaked Banshees. That's my read on the situation for sure. And I'm sure if DeMuslim saw this, that'd probably be what he's thinking as well. A couple of SCVs going to make their way over here as the Marine going to be making its way in, wants to put on a little bit of pressure. But with that SCV gone, that Marine's going to be able to put on a little bit of pressure onto the Marine for DeMuslim. So both Marines going to be getting in there, and with the first shot going for DeMuslim's Marine, he's in a good position, but SCV's going to have to be pulled here in just a second once again as the second Marine does make its way over. No more Marines rallying across for the time being, but sniping one SCV and even going to get a second there, might even get a third. That was a brilliant target firing, by the way. There was a Marine over here that was at very low life, and finally this last Marine going to be taken out relatively soon here. There's 2 SCVs over here. They're one shot away, and so that's a brilliant job there by DeMuslim, making sure that he in fact did not lose those SCVs that were very low on life, and taking a bit of an economic advantage here. And so the response from his opponent is going to be the Cloaked Banshees. The Tech Lab already going to be going down with that gas really starting to build up right here. And so the Tech Banshees are really going to have to equalize the playing field. There's going to have to be a lot of kills on these Cloaked Banshees to equalize all the economic lead that DeMuslim already has. Take a look at the SCV count. It's a little bit behind right now for our Evil Geniuses player, just because he had to pump both those racks so that he could get Marines to defend that aggression, and because he did end up losing a total of 4 workers already. But seeing this command center finally coming down right here, DeMuslim is going to be wondering, hey, what kind of funky play is going on in that base that you've had to delay your command center for this long? What are your SCVs doing if they're not mining minerals? And there might even have to be a cancel here. Taeja actually having to cancel his own CC there, and DeMuslim absolutely looking just beautiful in this game. The one reactor, or one Hellion, is actually making its way onto the field right now, being produced off of the Naked Factory. The Cloaked Banshee is going to be scouted right here. DeMuslim, in fact, seeing that the factory, the Tech Lab is researching something, and DeMuslim just able to put a lot of damage in here, picking off a couple more Hellions, picking off a Hellion and a couple more SCVs, and targeting that SCV instead of targeting the Hellion, knowing that he wasn't going to be able to kill the repairing Hellion. And back at home, Engineering Bay going to be going down for DeMuslim. That is his method of choice to react to the Cloaked Banshee, and I think that's probably a pretty good one. Don't want to have to spend too many scans there. And a third barracks is going to be adding some Marines as well. Missile turret's going to be going down, a total of one of them for the, total of 3 of them. One in each one of these mineral lines over here, and one even going to be covering the tech a little bit. Even a 4th one going to be going down. And DeMuslim's looking in a pretty good position right now, being able to really deflect the aggression from his opponent, although a couple of Marines can be making their way over there. A bad rally point loses DeMuslim a couple of Marines there, and without combat shield, these Marines are going to be able to get 2-shot. Oh, 1-shot, that would be terrible. 2-shot by the Banshee over here, and the Banshee activating Cloak right there, wanting to try to get a little bit of damage done and picking off a couple of Marines, so better than nothing, but he really wants to be picking off the SCVs. He's so far behind in economy, he wants to be able to get those SCVs to equalize things. Marines are good, but that's not going to be taking up production time from the command centers. Those can be produced once again from the barracks, but as the Cloaked Banshee meets up with his friend over here, second one going to be coming in, one bunker trying to come down, but SCV starting to get sniped off pretty well here. The Marine's going to be dancing around the missile turret, but pretty good micro thus far by Taeja, trying to pick off as many units as he can, bringing the total workers killed all the way up to 9, as a third Banshee is going to be making its way across the field, and a 4th even production. Taeja really not wanting to decommit from this, wants to be able to force as many units out as possible and try to pick off as many Hellions as possible. And once again, knowing that he's behind economically right now, his choice of follow-up is Blue Flame Hellions. With that Tech Lab going to be producing Blue Flame, I would expect to see possibly these 2 switch. Why would they switch? There's no reactors down anywhere, but a couple more factories going down right there with those reactors. So there's going to be a ton of Blue Flame Hellions, knowing that his opponent is not producing anything but Marines to deal with this for the time being. Blue Flame Hellions and the mech follow-up here for our Liquid player is going to be a pretty apt one there. It's going to be very good at dealing with high concentrations of Marines and continuing the Banshee harassment. Let's take a look at workers killed, still at 9, but let's take a look at units lost here. DeMuslim has lost a lot, 28 units, each one of those units being a Marine or an SCV. Simple math, they tell you not to do math on stream, but that is 19 Marines, and I'm confident of that number that have been killed. That is a lot of Marines indeed, as Hellions starting to make their way across the map right here. A total of 7 Hellions out right there, and I even just saw a Raven in production. Ravens, that's awesome. Anyway, 3 Banshees and 9 Hellions on the map, in addition to that Raven and a couple of Marines. This is looking to be some kind of crazy push right here for our Liquid player. But back at home, Muslim has dropped some units into the mineral line of his opponent. The Raven almost going down right there, and the Hellions finally showing Blue Flame right there. They're going to be able to drive off the drop. Let's take a look at how many workers were in fact killed. Looks like 2 or 3 additional workers. Blue Flame Hellions going to be looking at, oh my god, that is so many Marines that just got roasted by those Blue Flame Hellions. And the Blue Flame's just going to continue putting out as much pressure as they can onto these SCVs, already losing most of his Hellions, but the Marines and the SCVs just continuing to line up for these Hellions. And let's take a look at the damage that was done. 9 additional workers being killed right there. Not nearly as bad as it could have been. The Sim City for DeMuslim really just contributing to why he was able to hold that off so effectively. But the resources lost still in favor of our Liquid player. DeMuslim having lost quite a bit, but it was a bit equalized. He lost a lot of Hellions there. Not killing a whole lot of stuff, but one of the things about a meching player is they have a lot of minerals. They don't need a lot of minerals. They need all the gas. The minerals are essentially free. They can expend those on whatever they want. Things that they really want to keep in their composition are the Ravens, the Siege Shanks, the Thors, the Banshees, the Vikings, the expensive units that cost lots of gas. That's what they're really worried about keeping. The Hellions, as long as they can trade minerals for minerals against a bio opponent, that is something they will do all day. Marine's going to be guarding the Xel'Naga Watchtower over here. Do in fact spot all the units going to be making their way out across the map. And Blue Flame Hellions going to be joining in once again, trying to fight with some of these Marines. But these Stim Marines do quite a bit of DPS. We'll see how this fight does in fact play out with quite a few medevacs just behind this. The Blue Flames trade relatively effectively, and like I said, trading minerals for minerals is something that the mech player wants to do all day. Barrick's even going to be over here trying to spot for any additional drops. But back home, operating off of all 3 of these factories, even a couple more factories, 2 more going down, bringing his total up to 5 right now. Our Liquid player is looking like he's going to be in a relatively good position right now against the Bio player. It really comes down to who tries to expand first. The 5th and 6th gases are so tempting for Taeja right now. He knows that going with the 5th and 6th gases, he can add so much more variety into his mech. Be producing more tanks, he can produce some Thors, he can produce whatever the heck he wants, adding more Vikings, all that, and the 3rd command center is going to be coming down here for Taeja momentarily, building it at the 3rd. Unless there's one, actually there was already one floating around. I completely missed that one. And already for our Bio player as well, going to be dropping his 3rd as his Bio contingent does start guarding that. Blue Flame Hellions going to be making their way now over here as a couple of Hellions going to be wiping out a large force, well, somewhat large force of Marines and Marauders. Full energy Raven right now. It's pretty cool. I'd like to see how the point defense drones going to come into effect in some of these big battles. Point defense drones very good at stopping things like Marine fire. Marines fire really fast, so it eats it up pretty good, but going to be able to clear the way a little bit for the mech player. And Marines and Marauders going to be making their way across the field right now. Medevac so are going to be taking a lot of fire from the Vikings once this fight starts, but we'll see if Taeja manages to get caught unsieged here. He really needs to siege up. He doesn't want to take that fight just yet. Wants to be in a good position, get a good concave on his opponent with all of those Hellions. And Hellions still trying to get in there and buffer some damage. The tank's not sieging up just yet, and the tank's even just going to sit there unsieged. There's so many siege tanks. Hellions going to be chasing down the Bio as the Vikings chase down the medevacs. The final medevac does in fact fall, and the PDD down already managed to save a lot of the fight there for our mech player. But look at all those siege tanks. Let's take a look at the army count here. A total of 9 siege tanks on the field, starting the siege line pretty deep. Doesn't want to take any chances over here, but there's a lot of Marauders out for his opponent. A total of 13 Marauders, but those Banshees can be able to put a lot of damage in. A flank coming in with PDD down. The siege tank's going to be cleaning up a lot of this right now, but the Marauders trying to come in. The Vikings forced to land right now to try to tank a little bit of the damage from the Hellions, and the last siege tank does in fact fall with a total of 3 Marauders left for the time being. Viking versus Viking war is going to be coming in right now, and the Banshees still trying to wreak as much havoc as they possibly can. 1 Viking left for the Muslim does finally fall. Marauders versus Blue Flame Hellions for the time being, but look at this. There's a lot of forces piling up here for Taeja. Going to be looking for a second wave here relatively soon. The Cloak Banshee with full energy there, going to manage to retreat and get home for the second wave of this attack. But look at all of these units that are in production right now. A total of 3 tanks at a time, 2 Vikings, 4 Hellions. They're making their way across the map right now, and Taeja is not letting his foot off the pedal right now. He wants to drive it home. He wants to get the kill as soon as possible. The Bio trying to take down these pesky 3rd destructible rocks. Here separating his bases so that he can easily make his way over. 1 siege tank even going to be taking a fire shot at the SCV, and that 1 SCV finally does end up falling to the Blue Flame Hellions there. Blue Flame's going to be cleaning out anything that was left in the mineral line. Marauders at very low HP over here trying to make their way in. Marines and Marauders going to be taken out by a lot of siege tanks over here in the back, and GG comes out from DeMuslim. Taeja showing us some absolutely beautiful mech there in game number 2. DeMuslim falling, and the score evening up at 1-1. All right, that was an awesome series. Beautiful mech play coming out there. I'd like to see whether mech or bio is going to be triumphant in game number 3. Maybe even both players going to be going mech. That would certainly be fun, reminiscent of like the GSL Super Series, something like that. Anyway, let's get into game 3. I've been your casting host, Beef. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next